Hello, folks. My name is William Wofford here with Trekker's Delight and one of our sub shows, Black Trek, with a new guest, Mr. Randall Ramirez. How you doing, man?
Good to see you both. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. You know what? I want to know on the T. How did you find out about this show, and who convinced you to be here? That's what I want to know on Trekker's Delight in general. Could it be
Yep,
this
Mr.
guy right
Demain.
down here?
Yep, yep. Looks like he's sleeping. There he goes. Woke him up.
Oh
There
man,
he
he's
goes.
always
Yeah.
sleepy. Jermaine, why are you
Uh,
always sleepy, dude?
I,
I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. I'm up early.
yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but thank you for your service nonetheless. Yeah. So he had sent me a Facebook message, and had to make sure he wasn't some kind of a spam or whatever the case may be. And turns out he's apparently is normal. So I went ahead and followed up with him.
And what's your Trek background like? Tell me like how much you know, or how much you, or which show you enjoy the most.
So I started with TOS in the 70s and 80s in reruns. And
Okay.
that's all there was until the 90s. And in the 90s, jumped in with with obviously with the next generation. Um, and I don't remember what happened really, why I never caught on with Deep Space Nine or Voyager. I don't remember what I was doing at that time, but it just moved away from those kind of things at that point in my life. I have tried to watch them, but that's another story. And then, and basically did not pick up again until 2009, the
Okay.
film, to see what they were going to do with it. Because I know they were trying to do something different with it,
Hmm.
and then on board again with the new TV shows.
Okay.
And it's in my heart. Every time I watch on one of the old streaming channels, they got TNG, and I just can't believe how well it actually holds up. And there's stuff I forgot, and it does have layers, and I'm surprised that they were able to do that back then. And then you can read some things into some of it too. There's a little bit of subtext there that maybe you didn't see the first time around, but you can definitely see the second time. Whether that was purposeful or not, I don't know. But the fact that it's flexible enough to be seen that way means that they were doing more than just a silly space show. You know,
Right. Which episode or which show that you have seen, or maybe the movie, has stood out to you the most, and why, as a Trekkie or a Trekker?
well, anything that Nimoy has shown up in works for me.
Okay.
Um, So, they had to do this thing for him where, he's like, he pretended he'd want to come back for the motion picture. He did want to come back, but he wanted, make sure the money was right and make sure that he had a voice and how the character went forward.
Right.
And every time he makes an appearance after that, he had the same deal, I have control over this. And this, like, okay. And he built something with that. And there is a through line from maybe not TOS, but there is a through line throughout all the films and the movies of his character growth.
Hmm.
And I find that an amazing thing, that a character like that, which is basically just a a two-dimensional character in a big way,
Hmm.
um, has a has a has something that you can follow in his arc. And you can see him growing as a person. You can see a subtle change as he goes along, where he's got a little bit of a wit, and he's got a little bit of a subtext to him too. That he's always kind of, I think he's always kind of looking at you, knowing he's like kind of in on the joke with you. You like
Oh
the
my
kitty?
God, Jermaine, he has a cat.
I got three actually.
I'm sorry, we have this saying on this show: in order to be here, you need to be able to drink, and you need to have cats.
I can do both. As a matter of fact, I was thinking almost of not. I'm like, do I want to do this tonight, or do I want to go get a drink? So there you go. There you go.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
Jermaine can handle it, but I'm gonna
Wait.
share some quick tea with you. I warned them. I warned them. I cannot drive. I can. I can do whatever I want. But I am a
Well,
lightweight. I might be 6'3" and 249 pounds, but I'm still a lightweight. And I
I hear
had
you.
one drink. It was peach wine, dude. Peach wine. Peach wine. And I was
Right.
gone. I was through. I was over with. Like I was so done. Jermaine had to mute me. And I had
Yeah.
food and everything, dude.
I mean, maybe it's powerful. I don't know. I've never had the peach wine before. So.
It tasted like Sprite with peach and a kick. Like, I don't know. I just know that I fell out. And then when I spoke, I spoke. Like,
That sounded like a whole lot of judgment. I don't know. I've never had that before.
Hey, look, for all I know, it could be powerful stuff.
it was peach. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead with the story.
So anyway, if Spock is front and centered for me, the spirit of Star Trek, where he's the outsider looking in, but when he does speak, he's not wrong. He's always got his finger right on it. Whether you're going to listen to him or not is a whole nother story. And he plays that with a certain kind of sly, I think, like a sort of sly intention that, like, okay, I am the smartest man in the room, but we're going to work together anyway, and I really enjoy that aspect of the character. Like I said, that he had control of it from start to finish until he passed away. And how much of that people don't realize is infused into Star Trek itself. Which is why I think they keep baking him in to each, not obviously Deep Space Nine or Voyager, but into Discovery. I think they baked him in for buy-in from the old fans, which I don't think it's necessary, but I think they made it work,
So, in terms of how they incorporated Spock into the Disco universe, you feel like it meets your approval? Especially with like Unification Part 3?
We're gonna see what they do with Strange New Worlds. I have this whole headcanon about Sarek, being at heart a very, very soft and tender-hearted, which is why he's got like a half son. He's got his own son. He's got Michael, and he married an Earth woman.
Right.
So he's kind of like a space hippie, where they're like, he accepts everybody, even though he might be hard on the surface. Once you get him at home, he's kind of, very much more a different person. He behaves a certain way around, whatever, the Vulcan Senate or whatever. But, they're like, well, what is that guy's deal? He's bringing home, he's got a half son. He's got the son, Spock, that's always messing up. He's got a daughter, an Earth daughter, and an Earth wife. Who else is like that on? And I love the idea of him being kind of like like having secretly a big heart. And you can see that between the conversations that he and Michael have, that he's got a good heart. But he's much harder on Spock because that's his own son,
So
he's easier on other people.
Yeah. So that's why he was harder on Spock than he was on Michael and Sci-Fi.
Right. So I like to think that's his backstory. That's why I say we'll see, because I have not been happy with other aspects of Discovery. And I don't think they've built out the characters well at times.
Yeah.
So if you mess up Spock, you've messed up Star Trek, because he's the heart of Star Trek. And if you mess him up, yes, he could have different aspects to his character that we've never experienced, but he doesn't drift far from what he's already doing because he knows who he is.
Right.
And when he doesn't, he still moves like he does.
Right.
So like I said, I have this whole thing about that. It's not the time or the place for it. But
It's okay. We've all gone on tangents before. Have you seen season 1 of Picard or parts of it?
Yes, uh-huh.
Okay, so
I did
good. So
watch the whole
that
thing.
means all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are actually about to start a clip by clip, well, not clip by clip, because Paramount ain't gonna go for that. Screenshot by screenshot breakdown of the new season 2 Picard trailer that just came out, well, a few days ago at this point. And yeah, everyone here has seen it. I'll be honest, I cried to tears. I was in tears. I was like, oh my god! Like I knew from watching Patrick Stewart ask Whoopi Goldberg on The View if she would come back for season 2. I already knew she was going to come back. That wasn't even a question. That wasn't even a question. For me, it was the amount of Trek context that if you know Trek as a whole,
Right.
you know what this is. You know what going around the sun means. Like, certain things. So, are you ready to get started? Here we go. So, the first thing that we see when we go into the trailer is we see what appears to be a space battle. It looks like, because we have Picard's ship, well, captain's ship here in the middle, being chased by 3 other ships. I do not know what kind of ships they are. I believe they might.
Those
I
are
fear
Starfleet.
they're definitely Starfleet, but I think they're from like the alternate universe that they found themselves in, because reality has changed. Because those don't look like normal Starfleet ships from what we've seen in season 1 of Picard. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I have no idea what they were, or I had somebody had said they might be Starfleet ships. I'm like, well, okay, well, I guess I'll see, because I couldn't tell one way or the other looking at this.
Yeah, Jermaine, what were you saying?
No, I was just like everything that you. I thought we were going in order, but yes, that is exactly what's happening. I think what's surprising though is the La Serena is. It looks like it's carrying the insignia of Starfleet itself. At least it looks like, and so that is what's amazing to me. Number one, the ship La Serena wasn't part of the fleet, and so it kind of looks like it might be, and so you would assume that the people on the ship are part of Starfleet as well. So that is what's amazing, and then also the fact that those Starfleet ships are chasing La Serena. So it's like, what's going on? I mean, after seeing the trailer, I kind of know what is going on, but I guess I don't want to jump too far ahead.
Okay. So when we go to the next screenshot here, I'm happy to see that we have a lot of our characters back. I think that's Elnor on the table, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Yeah, he's like the baby of the ship. You don't want to, even though he's like the strongest warrior, so to speak. It's just like I couldn't contain myself when he cried on Raffi's shoulder after Picard died at the end of season 1. What do you guys think is going on here? Well, I don't know who that person is on top, so I really couldn't tell.
It's Raffi.
That is,
yeah, it is Raffi.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe Raffi sort of becomes like a surrogate mom to him. She does have a lot of that kind of spirit to me.
And because of her situation with her own son, it's kind of like natural that she would put that love and attention onto him.
That's right, because in season 1, she was, I believe she was a heavy drinker.
Yeah.
And she was
and on drugs. She did everything.
Drugs.
You name it, she did it.
Yeah, and she was ostracized from her son and didn't even know that he had a wife and kid.
Well, she knew both.
Oh, she did?
Right.
Yeah.
He just never came around.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, and we see, we got to see Patrick Stewart. This is his shocked face. Like, this is I'm getting too old for this shit, Q.
Wait a minute, you know what he looks like for real? What was it? Was it Nemesis? Right now, he looks like Nemesis.
Like Nemesis?
You remember with the The
He
plastic.
does. He
It's
does.
like
He looks
it's.
like his young version of himself. You mean?
Oh my god! No, not the young version. Like, okay, so you remember the movie Star Trek Nemesis? Was it
Yeah.
Nemesis? I think it
Yeah, it
was.
was Nemesis.
Where you had like
And
this
he's
guy,
bald in all of them, so
huh?
he's bald in all of them. So I mean,
No, I'm not talking about Picard. I'm talking about the character. There was a character in Nemesis who would have basically plastic surgery and would
Oh, was that
stretch his
Nemesis?
skin. Was it Nemesis?
wait
Is
a minute.
Nemesis?
I think you're talking about Insurrection.
Yeah, you are. You're
Insurrection.
talking about
Insurrection.
Insurrection, right?
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
To me,
So
he looks like
Insurrection.
the. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
He looks like Mr. Stretchy Man Face.
Hmm.
I forgot his name. Oh my God, why am I terrible at this?
Yeah, it's F. Murray Abraham's the actor, but I don't remember that character. Those movies are kind of
Ruafel?
they're all right.
Is it Ruafel?
I don't remember.
All right. So we get to see our seven back and our captain. What's this captain's name again?
He's got a Spanish last name, I believe.
He does.
And yep, he is.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah. Can't think of it.
Podcast.
So, but if you notice, if look on his chest, like that's almost Starfleet insignia, right?
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean,
You're right.
it is, but you can tell that at this point they are definitely in an alternate Starfleet because Seven's implants are gone.
Right.
Right.
And
not in this shot, but you can tell that her whatever badge is different from theirs. So
yeah.
Because it seems like I don't know what it is, but I think in this universe they're in control of the Borg. It's just a personal theory of mine.
Yeah.
Who holds a queen captive?
Someone with a lot of will. You have to have a lot of will and self-discipline to hold someone like that in place.
Exactly.
You know?
And how do you feel? I believe. How do you feel about them casting a new actress for the Queen? I gotta admit, I'm wildly impressed. Even her voice took me a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's important almost to change them out because that's their very essence is a change, and
Right.
so she sort of begins to. I don't know if the previous Queen dies or sort of fades out in some other way. That's just going to move all of the programming and whatnot to another body, another person. I don't know how they choose such a thing, but
At the end of Voyager, on the last episode of Voyager, that Queen did die.
okay.
She did. And that particular Queen, well, we've learned outside of canon that the Borg chooses their queens based on a very specific type of species that can handle all of that processing power, so to speak.
Sure.
That's why we see Alice in both Endgame of Voyager and Star Trek First Contact, and Susanna or Savannah, what was her name? She was also in Voyager 2 as a Borg queen, and she and Alice reprises her role in Lower Deck. So that's good. So we have a whole new actress right here, which I'm completely okay with, because if we're going under the theory that you have to choose a specific species just to handle being a Borg queen, then yeah, I'm sure they're gonna have different queens on standby.
Yeah.
So next we see that so they're back, they're on the ship, they rallied up all the troops because something is clearly wrong, and they literally pull a Kirk maneuver and they go around the sun. Now, can you guys do you guys remember the last time someone went around the sun and what they were doing?
Voyage home. Or could it have been after?
It was Voyage Home.
But what was there, like an episode somewhere where they did it as well?
No. No,
Yes, you're right.
they never went around this. I mean, there was a lot of episodes where they were near a star, or a lot of stuff. But as far as like high speeding it around the sun, that's only happened one time that we've seen one time, and I'm sure it got banned after that because at that point anyone could time travel. So it's just like, oh, I just have to go around the sun real fast, and then I like Superman, and then I time travel back in time.
Right,
Yeah, I'm pretty
right,
sure that was made like illegal on a galactic level because that means anybody could travel back in time. Because it's like, how do you
right.
take a bird of prey that you stole from the dude that killed your son and tell me that that ship just happened to be equipped with? I guess it makes sense because since you have Doc, who's playing as a Klingon on that ship, he probably had the flux capacitor or whatever on that Klingon bird of prey since he was there in the first place. So of course it would travel back in time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. You just explained that plot hole. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just like, how does a Klingon ship travel back in time? How does that happen?
Look, you get Doc there, and then you have Scotty hanging around. You get the two of them together, and who knows what kind of foolishness they're going to get into, science-wise.
Lord have mercy. But yeah, so they're traveling back around the sun. In the next screenshot we see here, it kind of like shows like Earth as they leave it. It basically has this probably a giant force field around it or barrier. So I don't know if this is some sort of dictatorship. It doesn't give me Mirror Universe vibes. It really doesn't. Because by that point the Mirror Universe is long gone. So what do you guys say about this barrier that's around here? It kind of reminds me of what we saw in the third season of Discovery when they came back.
So go ahead, sir.
So what it reminds me of is either they're trying to keep everyone in or they're trying to keep everyone out. And if they're trying to keep everyone out, then what that would tell me is that the Federation is, the United States did it as well. Like after a certain amount of time, look, we don't want to deal with anybody who's, some immigrant or whatever. So we want to keep everyone out, right? So that's what that dome or that shield reminds me of. And so another thing that it tells me is that Earth, instead of being, the leaders of Starfleet, is probably very insular. Probably, it's like the complete opposite of what we've grown to understand and know as it relates to the Federation. And the Federation in and of itself is at that particular point in time, it's probably not going to be in existence.
Okay. Randall, what say you?
So I'm assuming that we're seeing this and we're thinking that this is some sort of either alternate Earth or just a point in time that we haven't seen yet in the Star Trek continuum. Is that what the thoughts are?
Somewhat, yes. I think we're in the alternate present day as we know it in the Picard universe. Yes.
So, okay, well, then, then it looks like, they're going through a version of whatever Earth went through in Star Trek in the 90s through whenever, and we don't really know what kind of technology they had available to them during those times, or at least who the powers that be had. So, yeah, there could be some kind of force field either to keep things in or out.
So if we
real messed up to keep things out, it'd be real messed up if it's to keep things in rather keep people from going anywhere.
So if we're to assume that this is technology from the Borg, and they defeated the Borg, then what we should then assume is that most of Borg technology is available to Earth.
It will make sense because in that universe, it's just like what really happened when Picard encountered the Borg. Yeah, they captured Locutus and brought him back, but in that timeline, they probably brought back the Queen as well, and found a way to control them because their infinite combinations, and which means infinite universes, as we learn.
Yeah.
Because when I see this here, it reminds me of First Contact when they're going through that time wormhole
Right.
pit, and you see that this Earth is this polluted, dark gray, oceanless, barren wasteland of Borg. Like,
Right.
so it's like this here. Even as I'm looking at it now, the clouds, even in the future, should be solid white, and they're not. And and there's no reason why the majority of these clouds that we are seeing here should be brown. There's no reason. So I don't know what environmental issues they have going on. I don't know. I have no clue. But it's definitely not the future that we are accustomed to. I don't even think the mirror universe would even go this far if the Terran Empire were still alive.
And I will also add that if your planet had been invaded and you almost lost, right? But let's say you won. You now have access to this technology. In your minds, like, you could conceivably see how people would say, this could happen again.
Yes.
Let's arm ourselves. Let's use this technology that we have. Let's become more militaristic, right? So conceivably, I could see how Earth became much more militaristic. And earlier, before we got on, like, I remember you said Earth might be like under some type of dictatorship. That would make sense.
Something to that effect, yes.
That would make sense.
Because it looked like the parties involved, it looked like Picard and Seven were in positions of power. So, and they had to grab a Borg queen somehow. So it's like, what do you think, Randall? As far as like,
if all of that is accurate, then it's kind of like the Borg queen is a certain recent political leader, and you got to put up the wall to keep the weirdos out.
Yeah,
something along those lines.
Because what if there's more than the Borg out there, right?
Right, and fear is a powerful thing, and even if you're using kind of your worst enemy's technology, you're still thinking, you're still thinking out of fear. And that's definitely what that looks like if you're trying to keep people either in or out.
That makes sense. Okay, so as they travel back in time, they go back to Los Angeles 2024. Whoa. Now, I just and I mean, this is literally 3 years from now. And of course, all Trek shows and and somewhat the movies have done time travel episodes to make their current watching audience more relatable to the Trek, like they did with First Contact, they did it with Voyager, they did with the Voyager Home, they did a lot of stuff. So I can only assume with this new generation of Trek fans that we have now, they said, okay, it's been 20 years since we did it, and Discovery doesn't really count because they went to the future. So what do we have here? Okay, let's bring it back to the past, but this time in 2024. And honestly, it looks like a pretty decent representation. They didn't do like any crazy weird predictions of, we're in 3 years we're gonna have this crazy cool technology. No, it looks like what we have today. Like, and they're probably, if they are gonna do some technological evolutions or social evolutions, it's probably going to be subtle at this point since it's only 3 years. 2 years. 2 years. No, it's 2024. So oh God, it's two. Oh sweet Jesus, I forgot. We're not in 2021 anymore. It's 2022. Okay. So, thank you, Jimmy. So, and we find that Q is literally running the show. It seems like he picked up where he left off on All Good Things, right? But what gets me is, what more is he doing than just sending them back to the past? He's having a conversation with, I'm not going to say Data because we know for a fact that Data is done, but we see someone who is being played by Brent Spiner. I don't know if this is an ancestor of Dr. Soong. Because I'm looking at his clothes, I'm looking at his face, and he does not look like that doctor that we saw at the end of season 1. Like,
right.
So is this another Data-esque character?
I don't think so.
I mean,
not when you say Data-esque, you mean an android?
Well, not even an android, but like someone that's played by Brent Spiner, obviously it's Brent Spiner, but it's clearly. But I'm just saying, is this guy in the Soong family?
I would. Well, okay, well, I'm not gonna venture a guess. However, that seems likely.
Okay, from the alternate present day or from the past?
Wait, the alternate present day or from the past? Hold up. What what are we talking about? What whose past? What past? My past?
The
Their
days of
past?
future past.
Oh, there you go.
um, I don't know. I don't. I can't. I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I would only assume that. Okay, so this is what I would assume. I would assume that this is Q going back to the current or the regular timeline, not this alternate timeline. And the reason I would say that is because you would assume that by the end of the season they would get back to the they would fix whatever
Whatever
happened,
happened.
right? And so whatever it is that Q was trying to do, he's trying to do it so that it remains constant.
Okay,
Would that not make sense?
I think so. Randall, did that make sense?
I mean, when you're talking about time travel, it doesn't necessarily have to make sense, but I think what happened, he might be talking to, or they might arrive at LA just before whatever event takes place that makes things go a certain, go off in another direction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually how that works, is you try and get there before the event happens so you can either stop it from happening or do something else that will supposedly, correct the problem that followed. And that was my impression, that he's talking to a Sung, um, at a time before whatever happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm definitely glad that we get to see a continuation of Brent Spiner. Like this, he's such a great actor.
He is.
Absolutely wonderful. Let's see what we have next here. Let's see. Looking. Then we see this very nice reunion. I've noticed here that, okay, in a different shot, it says 10 on the top of the door, and somewhere on the side here it says forward. Right here on the top right, it says forward, so it's like 10 forward.
Wow.
Because when he goes into this bar, we see our Guinan sees that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I am assuming personally, like, this is definitely all in the alternate time. Reason I'm saying that is because his uniform is still different. It's not the same at all. And the last time we called on Guinan to tell when something is different, if I'm not mistaken, was yesterday's Enterprise. And Elorians have this thing about knowing. They have like this third eye, other than living 1,000 years.
Wait a minute. What about Generations?
Yeah, she showed up in Generations.
Yeah, she
ribbon.
She showed up in Generations. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, she did. I mean, because she knew Soren, and they were on Enterprise B together.
Mm-hmm.
But was there another instance where they were in an alternate time or an alternate universe? And the only one I can think of was yesterday's Enterprise, because Tasha Yar was alive, and she's like, "You ain't supposed to be here."
Right.
And she's like, "Everything has changed."
Right.
So, we got alternate times and alternate universes. What do you think about them bringing Whoopi Goldberg back, and how crucial do you believe her part will be in season 2 now that we're here? Is this a one-time thing, or is this an ongoing thing like they did with 7? Like, what do you think?
Well, I don't think it's gonna be like 7. I don't think it's gonna be like 7. I'm trying to think of another. I think it's gonna be more like Picard, where not Picard, like Riker, where we saw Riker in like maybe 2 or 3 episodes throughout Picard. I think that's how we might see her. I think we might see her like at the tail end of an episode, and then we'll see her again during another episode, and then we might see her at the end. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So she in on Star Trek TNG, basically she showed up. I don't know how many times a season, but obviously she wasn't on every episode.
Yeah.
And when she did show up, she played a crucial part in whatever was going on for the most part,
Mhm.
and then would go back, about her business. And it would seem to me like she would still play that kind of oracle in the roadway, which is how very much, like the Greek tragedies. They would be, and they come to each city and there's your oracle. And she's an oracle in his life and also is a good counter to a lot of Q's BS, because she also knows some things that he doesn't quite understand, maybe spiritual things, whereas Q is magic in some kind of way, and she looks at things from a different angle.
Mhm.
So her showing up in the timeline makes sense in that you're walking down a certain path and there's that oracle again trying to soothsay what's going on next.
Well, let me say, I think it's wonderful. Like the little bit that they showed, like Guinan was drunk, and I loved every moment of it.
They kept it little too.
It was some peach schnapps. I mean, some peach wine.
Wait a minute.
There you go.
Are you about to do it? Where is it? You don't have
Come
it
on.
on yours. Hold on, wait a minute.
Come on. You gonna get some out? Oh, okay.
No.
Now he's drunk on some water.
Okay, Randall. So we have this thing.
Look, did you put her up because you're like you arrogant? Is that why she popped up?
Okay, there's
It was
context. Okay. In Trekkers Delight, we have a lot. We in just 2 months, we've already developed a lot of culture.
Okay.
Every time that every time that this comes up, it means two things. One, it means sheer.
I got it. No, I got it.
And two, you're supposed to take a shot.
Oh, if I wish I'd known that.
Don't worry. This is your icebreaker episode here. So
okay, I'll be drunk the next time.
When we get everyone on, make sure you bring the good stuff. Okay.
Look, and again, I started to get nervous, and so for a second, I'm like, should I have a drink right before the? No, I'll say something stupid, but I'm going to do that anyway.
Oh God! Now we have 3 things. We have the, Jermaine. Where's the, and I? Ooh, where's that one?
Do I have it in here?
Because we have.
I can
that
upload
one.
it, but
It should be in the. It should be in. There it is. Here it is.
Oh.
When someone said, "Well, damn." Okay.
You do it. Because I think we're doing it at the same time.
Fine. Okay. All right. When someone says something crazy, out of this world, bizarre, it's like hitting a bell almost.
Okay.
And when we're talking about, okay, now take it back to the Orion Slave Girls. The Orion Slave Girls. Yeah. And then when we're talking about highly inappropriate stuff,
yes,
we got this.
Okay.
So and this is actually for 1 minute on this part in honor of Robin Alyssa, who used to be one of our podcast members here. Unfortunately, she passed away about a month ago, but she had a very, very strong liking to Green Orion Slave Girls.
Okay.
And that actually came for her. So
I'm sorry about your friend.
It's all right. If you want to see her more, just watch some past episodes. Her final appearance will actually be on another show that we have called Fight the Patriarchy, and they will be talking specifically about The Quickening, which is an episode in Deep Space Nine where Dr. Bashir takes matters into his own hands and separates himself from Starfleet to vaccine of people. But that's a whole nother ball game. That's a whole nother ball game. But yeah, so kind of get it. Okay, so all right, back to the topic at hand. He goes to 10 Forward. He goes into the bar, sees Gunn, and has a drink with her, and she's letting him know everything he needs to know. So there's another clip. You know how they make cinematic trailers? They bring up old shots again just to make it match the music in X, Y, and Z, and that's fine. Um, Now, if I'm looking here, I think that's a Romulan. What do you guys think? Because Romulans have more facial ridges, I guess, than Vulcans do.
Yeah, their foreheads a little bit more craggy like
Defined.
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they have more of a cranium almost, kind of like Klingons, but not as defined. But
Right.
Vulcans, they don't have any. They just have pale skin and pointy ears, except for Tuvok. But so, like, what do you think here? What's going on here with this scene? Is this a messed up first contact experience now that time has changed?
So what we saw, or at least what I remember, what we saw, like a little boy. Um, uh, yeah, we saw a Vulcan touching a little boy, doing a mind meld on that little boy, and then I think that little boy got a little older. Um, and so I'm thinking that for whatever reason, the Vulcans landed on Earth, um, and their first contact was a little different. Or
Are you talking
I
about
shouldn't say their first contact, because they've been on Earth before, but
yeah, during Enterprise? Yeah.
yeah. Um, but I'm thinking something happened, something different happened. Um, and it could be Q manipulated. You know what I'm saying? Like Q could have done something that made that first contact go a little different.
It's possible. It's possible. When you Randall, when you see these, I'm presuming Romulans, possibly Vulcans here, we haven't really seen them in season one. So, what role do you think they play in this universe or in this timeline?
So, assuming that this is a shot from an alternate timeline, then I wouldn't have any idea. My impression is that these are characters from that help set up what's to come and why they wind up going back in time.
Mhm.
Either something the Romulans are trying to do because they want to be ascendant again, or at least a faction of them want to be ascendant again. So maybe they're doing something to mess up reality, and that's what causes things to go into motion. For them to have to go into the past. And it
Okay.
just occurred to me that I think Q is there now because things are so bad, things are unraveling so badly that it affects the continuum, the Q continuum,
But wait, I have
to
a
the point
question.
where,
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I thought you were done.
okay, well, to the point is maybe that explains why he looks so old now because things are changing. The nature of the universe is somehow changing, and that's why Q approaches Picard and asks him for his help in a sense. It's not necessarily as a nemesis situation, as a bad guy, kind of like as a trickster god, but as someone who, as they are now losing control of the situation.
I have a question though. Not to take it back, not to take it back. First, Randall, I don't necessarily disagree with you. But why are we assuming it's a Romulan when we saw? I mean, because Romulans don't really do mind melds, right? So we saw that someone that looked like a Vulcan was doing a mind meld on a little boy. So why are we assuming that it's a Romulan?
I
You're
mean,
right.
if they're cousins, then I mean, maybe because you got to remember at this point, Romulus is destroyed, which means at some point, um,
Wait, Romulus. Oh, so this is supposed to be the okay. Never mind.
this. I mean, because let's still assume for the time being that Romulus is still destroyed. Okay, they are refugees on a whole other planet, which means they have to get on. It probably wasn't Navarre at this point, but they had to have gone on Vulcan at some point.
Yeah, but how does Vulcan get into this storyline?
I don't know.
I don't think that this is a Romulan. I think this is a Vulcan.
Think so.
Well,
Yeah.
Vulcan always has something to do with, Starfleet going forward. They're like England is to America, if that's a simile you want to use. but they're always sort of side by side with whatever we're doing. Yeah, but
Because
I really can't tell what is going on here. Really, it's not so much this guy as the guy you can see, but who's he talking to?
who is this boy?
Yes.
Exactly. Okay, down to another shot here. I'm gonna assume that in this shot that they are approaching Earth as 2024 because the shield is not there, and that's just an assumption. Or it could be the end of season 2 of them returning to Earth back to normal. But who's to say at this point? This screenshot really doesn't really have much that we haven't really touched on already. They are definitely in 2024. I mean, look at those. Like, you can tell that those.
Oh yeah.
It needs a paint job. That road needs a paint job. Just they didn't change nothing. Even in 2024, they don't take good care of their roads.
But how about that image of this white woman in a red dress? I mean,
And blonde hair and red.
That's
emoji
never a bad image.
emoji
It's
for
always a
days.
kind of
I
a
love
classic
it.
image.
Do you think she just came from somewhere?
You know what? I don't know what's going on with her.
I
Do we
appreciate.
know what her storyline is this season?
I don't know who's she trying to be, Marilyn Monroe.
My impression is that she's getting to live a life outside of everything she's ever experienced,
Because she
and
feels
that
an immense amount of guilt.
she's in a place where she is. My impression is that she is somewhere feeling safe and in a different place. And when I say safe, she knows that there's no weird aliens coming around the corner trying to take over her mind and her body anymore. That's my impression, but it's hard to say.
So let's think
Also,
about this.
she looks
Oh, I'm
like
sorry.
no, she looks like Six from Battlestar Galactica.
Ah.
You remember blonde, always wore a red dress.
Mhm.
Go on.
Yeah, no, just that red dress, blonde, and just one number off.
All right, all right. What were you gonna ask, Jermaine?
Shit, I forgot. Keep going.
Okay. All right. So now we're moving on to Seven and Rafi. It looks like they hijacked a police vehicle, and it looks like a modern vehicle that we would see today. So,
Yeah.
which lets you know they didn't. I guess they didn't get as funded as they needed to be in 3 years. But no shade, but no shade. So they steal a police car. What is going on here? And at this point, it is assumed that they are a couple because they seem to be like their own. Whenever there's a time traveling episode, they always divide into teams. So
Mhm.
it looks like Seven and Rafi are their own team, and
Mhm.
Rafi is just
okay.
like has this typical black reaction when you are driving at like hell, and we're trying to figure out where did Seven learn how to drive.
That's true. Rafi should have her hand up on the oh shit bar.
Like I hope it is. I'm absolutely here for it. How do you think that their relationship will develop or their characters will develop? Especially Rafi now that she's with Seven, it seems like.
So let me say that, like, just speaking for myself. So my favorite character, like outside of Picard, from season 1 was Rafi. She gave me so much, right? Like, she went from crazy to upset to pointed observations, very logical, a strategist. We saw her, cry. We saw all types of different emotions. The story didn't really revolve around her.
Mhm.
But to see her with Seven, like that pairing, it's kind of like a girl pairing, right?
Mhm.
Like these two girls, and you might even say the most senior of the two girls, not by age, but by experience.
Mhm.
And so I think that is done on purpose to elevate Rafi, her character.
Okay.
Yes.
And then just their personalities are almost opposite, or at least the Seven from Voyager, almost opposite. I don't know what type of personality we're gonna get from her this season, especially because I don't see her.
We don't see her as much in season 1. We see her for like a third of the season. And
Well,
then
I'm talking about her Borg implants. I don't
oh
see her
yeah,
Borg implants, so I don't know what type of personality she's going to have, right? Because her personality might not be the same.
Well,
it might
and
not be. Go on.
but by the time you see her in Picard anyway, I mean you get the I got the impression that she is a different person because time has passed, um, and that's just she's just grown up a lot more and is
Well,
handling herself obviously differently because she's willing to go out and shoot some bad guys, which is not a Star Trek thing. You're not supposed to behave like that, like be a
Mhm.
you
But that's
know
my point. My point is that because this is a different seven, that we're gonna get a different personality, not the seven
yeah.
You know
from
what?
season one.
To answer your question, Jermaine, I think I might have a right away answer for that. In the second trailer of Picard season 2, we see Seven waking up from
Hmm.
whatever she's waking up. She looks in the mirror for the first time and she touches her
Yeah,
face like, "Where's my eye implant? Where is it?" Which means
right.
if she has that memory and she has that shocked face, I believe it would stand to reason that she kept the same
Same
personality.
personality.
Now, because she's in an alternate timeline now, it means that she isn't necessarily this vigilante anymore. It also means that her history with the Borg is vanished in the eyes of everyone else
and
because
and I
she
really think that
go ahead, yeah, that was
sorry.
it. Go ahead.
No, I really think that that goes in then to match her walking down the road in a red dress, feeling like, safe for lack of a better term, or maybe even, again, for lack of a better term, normal. That she has an opportunity to do something like that for the first time in her life. Dress a certain way, appear a certain way, feel herself. You know, if that's who she is under all of that, because she's had so many layers laid over her over the extent of her life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because it seems like yeah, and to that point, it seems like she kept some vigilante-esque behaviors because she steals and drives a police car. Clearly, she's the dominating one in the relationship. And then she bails our good captain from a prison bus. What
Mm.
in the world is happening? And there's Raffi behind her. So
I'm trying to figure out how he got arrested. Like what could he have done? That's what I'm trying to figure
I
out.
don't know,
And
but
I'm hoping it's funny as hell.
I'm hoping that by
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be some kind of hijinks like that.
I'm
Misunderstanding based on some weird thing somebody said to him.
I'm really hoping that by 2024 that we would have resolved certain issues and dealings that we deal with today, even though probably not. So it also stands to reason that Raffi and our captain here is probably going to face some of that
Hmm.
Mm. Hmm.
because and this actually goes in line with what Black Trek is all about because it was no different than actually in Voyage Home because you got to remember Chekhov is Russian.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
what
you're
in
right.
the world did it look like for him to
Right,
look for Alameda and then get caught? And they're like, "What are you doing here?"
right. He was on a naval base.
Like, how
Right,
did you even get inside? Right.
right. That's
So,
very true.
for our Hispanic captain and our African American female character, something might happen. Rafi might end in jail at bit, and Seven had to come get, and then Seven had to come get good old our El Capitan out of a prison. But how they got on prison bus, I don't know. But like, I don't know what martial law they got going on here, but it's something going on because Star Trek has this way of using modern storytelling to tell about
Right,
social issues that we
right,
have.
To
right.
me, it's a great callback. Like even though it's not the same type of bus, it's a great callback to Voyage Home because Spock on that bus was
Yeah.
epic. You know what I'm saying? It was epic.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden we
Yeah,
have another bus scene, and it looks like it's going in the opposite direction. So I wonder how good of a scene this is really going to be. Like
I
it's
feel like Seven is going to kick everyone's ass on that
uh
bus.
huh, uh huh,
Yeah, I like that. I
uh
like
Right,
that.
huh.
right. Okay, I have two more screenshots left, which is really good because we're doing good on time. This one was really interesting to me because those are Voyager uniforms, and I looked very close. I looked stupid close. Those are Voyager uniforms. I swear to God.
Oh wow,
It-
is that Harry Kim?
that's not Harry. No, that ain't Harry.
He's still there. No, he's still there. He's
You and
up
I
on the
will have a
floor.
very different conversation. Now, I tried to screenshot it at a point where you could see that there is no indentation or line like they have in the regular Picard universe. They have that line where it goes straight across, which means that era is Voyager Generations era uniform.
Mhm.
So if we now, this means that this is some sort of alternate timeline in between where something went drastically wrong. Because I mean, the corridor still has its similarity to a Starfleet ship because it still has like that red alert, red line across the corridor, and they actually did a good job with just not shaking the camera and shaking them. They actually flung them against the wall. So when you see these uniforms, what do you guys think here if you were speculating? It's
I'm
hard
scared
to.
too.
It's hard to. It means that well, we definitely know Starfleet didn't exist in 2024. We also know those uniforms become outdated by the time the first episode of Picard even came out. So that means something is way off, right?
It looks like people from different times are going to be part of this universe, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then
See,
the last. Go ahead.
No, just having the imagination to even look at the uniforms like that, it hadn't even occurred to me to think, oh, you know, what era uniform is that, to kind of narrow down or pinpoint what it was they were doing. So, yeah.
Exactly. And then in our final shot, we have Picard and I was going to say Uhura and Guinan toast into another great adventure because that's what Kirk and Picard are all about.
It's going to be his final frontier. Is that what she said?
And another frontier yet to discover or something like that. You know how it is because we have an android Picard now that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a real boy at the end of season 2 because Q's gonna make me human and stuff. I'm pretty sure Q is gonna joke. I feel like Q is gonna joke to Picard about being a synthetic now, just like when Riker met Data originally. Data was in a tree on the holodeck singing "Pop Goes the Weasel," right?
Something like that.
It would be very like Q to just come around the corner in his entrance whistling "Pop Goes the Weasel." That sounds like something Q would definitely do. Now, aside from the other racial aspects, what we're going to find out with Raffi is that in 2024, we find out that it's also the same year as the Bell Riots. But I had to make a correction in my mind because that, if I'm not mistaken, happened in San Francisco. This is Los Angeles. So we got two different locations.
Two different locations, but they said that that this was happening all over the country.
Right.
They had sanctuary cities all over the country.
Yeah, so what if they run into a sanctuary city? What if they run into a Gabriel Bell in Los Angeles and he goes to San Francisco? Like, what happens? Right.
Here's my thing. They didn't show any of that in any of these sequences in the trailer, and you would think at least they would touch upon it or show a flash or show bottles flying through the air or something
something
to represent.
Because the closest thing to Deep Space Nine that we see is a broken Bajoran tablet in the beginning of the season 2 Picard episode trailer 2 trailer. Because you see like a broken Bajoran tablet that Sisko was examining on Picard's desk, and Picard is a sucker for archaeology. So I don't know if they activated it, called upon the prophets to do some stuff. I have no idea. But it's like, yeah, it's 2024. Yeah, I'm glad to see Guinan, but there's so much subcontext that only Trekkies would know. Even that have aspects from every single show, obviously, except Discovery. So, whoa, what is going on here, right? Like, what do you think is to come with this season? What are your expectations before we close out in a few minutes?
Well, I don't know if I really have a set expectation. I will say this: the fact that they decided to keep Girardi, who, I mean, her one and only thing is the fact that she deals with AI, right? So I wonder if at some point AIs, like, that's gonna be like something that they're gonna deal with, because otherwise, like, why keep her on the show? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like
If you're
everyone
dealing with
else.
the Borg,
Well, yeah,
if you're
but
dealing with the Borg, that's
I
AI.
mean,
You
It's a
know,
thing.
Picard and Seven, that's enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have enough
yeah.
insight to deal with the board. I mean, but I get your point. Um, I expect I expect maybe about 10 or 11 movies jam packed into 1 hour. And I'm going to enjoy every last one of those movies. I expect to laugh. I expect to cry. I expect to be mad. I expect to be happy. That's what I expect.
Okay, Randall, what do you
Okay.
expect?
So it hasn't come up yet, and that's okay. I was not a big fan of Picard season one,
Okay,
and my wife and I sat through each and every episode, and at the end of each and every episode, it was like we could have forgotten what had just happened because it had so little impact. Now, I say that saying that Picard to me is equal, if not second, to Spock in terms of having an arc from beginning to end. Um, and it might just be because the way they cut the trailer, but the trailer is set up in a way to maximize your attention, and all trailers are like that. See a little bit of action, a little bit of kind of a contemplation. You see establishing sequences of the cities and whatnot, and it may well be that they cut it in such a way that it's supposed to be just for entertainment's sake, but time travel is worn out. um, Showing up in a city that it felt very low budget to me. It felt very unimaginative to me because that is LA. That you've seen it before. Um, I still don't feel like they did enough to build up the characters from Picard first season. I want to know more. With the exception of Seven, I still don't feel those people,
you don't really know
and
them.
I want yes, and I want to. I'm supposed to be seeing them through Picard's eyes, but they really didn't build. You didn't see anything from his point of view. It was more their own individual stories, and to me, that took the energy from. Well, how is Picard going to handle this? I don't know, because I felt like it was less. It was empty to some degree, and that's been part of my problem with the newer stories, Discovery included. That said, I could be completely wrong. I don't know everything,
Right.
and so that's why I go in open minded and hoping that this will be something. But I do think time travel is done. That it's a easy trope to go because it's fun. Uh, Same thing with dystopias. I think it's done. You can only do it if you're coming with something new. And I'm not sure that's what's going on here. These look very by the book, but with our characters that we love in them. That's how it looks to me. Very
Right.
by the book. Okay, this happens. This happens. Comedy, car chase. Them chasing around in the police cars just feels like T.J. Hooker to me. Not, you know what I mean by like just a stereotypical chase scene like that you can get anywhere. And so I know what I'm saying is feels radical, but we'll
Oh,
see.
oh, You trust me. We have a lot. We have
Okay.
many different conflicting opinions throughout the different personalities, just which is why that we have many different shows. Personally, I think you should definitely get on What If and Opposite Tracks because I feel like that's
Okay.
definitely in your department as far as like what can work canonically, what can work in terms of cinematography, directing, and even writing, because
That's
that's
what I'm talking about.
yeah, exactly. So that's why I invited you on this particular show because the other shows have already been filmed for the week, which is why you come on this show and we figure out okay, where do you think you belong? And so I for your three and Jermaine, if you would concur, I would definitely say the show reviews on Thursday because and we rotate those out periodically whenever we see a new episode of Discovery or lower or not lower decks because that's already passed. Prodigy, if you want to watch that, definitely Opposite Tracks. That's actually our newest show that came out, and it's if you want to have a debate, that's definitely a good show for you. Now if you just want to
I
purely
do.
speculate, even if the opinion or the perspective is in your opinion crucial, definitely get on What If. Absolutely get on What If because that's like an open ballpark. That's an open field, open domain. You can say whatever, do whatever, and it's absolutely just fine. So yeah, I think it works. What do you think, Jermaine?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm gonna end it there. I agree with you.
Okay. So, me personally, as far as my expectations go, okay, I'm ready for this. I ran out of water. Okay, anyway. So, okay, there are a lot of unanswered questions from TNG that I really want answered, and I'm surprised neither of you have said it. So, the first question, well, actually, Randall, you did kind of like touch, actually, you both kind of touched on it. We learned that there's something going on between Guinan or Elorians and the Q continuum or Q. So what is this? Like, what in the world is going on? The last time I saw Whoopi Goldberg do this was The Color Purple, which makes me think
Right.
that was still Guinan and she was still there, like because she did the
She
same
did
that same
it. She
thing.
did it in TNG.
She did it in DNG.
She did it in TNG also.
And then they used the same child actor during the child episode when the transport accident happened and they
Oh
turned
yeah,
all
yeah.
into children. They took the same child actor that played as Whoopi Goldberg in Sister Act and put her in TNG. Like, what the fuck? So that's one right there. See, I already got your attention because I'm not even done. So that's one right there, right? So I want to know what is going on right there, right? Now we already know with the data episode with his head in the cave that Guinan has apparently been on Earth since Samuel Clemens, okay? But that doesn't exactly say how Picard and Guinan's relationship formed. We just know that Gene Roddenberry thought Whoopi Goldberg was joking and wanting to be on TNG when she was actually being dead serious. Well, we don't really know how their relationship formed. We know that in terms of time travel, she already knew him, but that doesn't explain Picard's perspective on how their relationship formed because he doesn't even know that they met already until like 20, 30 years later. So in the middle of season 3 or season 2 of TNG, where she's a bartender. So that's number 2. Number 3, I want to know the words that Q said or was about to say to Picard at the end of All Good Things when Picard asked him, Q, what is it you're trying to tell me? And he says, you'll find out. In any case, I'll be watching. This is what I've been waiting for. I need answers. I could give two shits about how they changed the timeline because every 20 years, when it comes to Star Trek, you have a brand new generation that doesn't know a lick of time travel. We had to suffer through that with Days of Future Past and Endgame. So I'm pretty sure if we can and Back to the Future and every other thing that we can think of in terms of time travel, okay? And Interstellar and a bunch of stuff. If we can suffer through those, I think we can make it through another season of Picard because it's like, at least with Discovery, they went to the future. We haven't really gone to the past since 2009. And that was by accident. And that was with Spock, mind you. So, because you got to keep in mind, the Kelvin timeline is an alternate timeline, which makes it an alternate universe. Now yeah. So the expectations that I have for season 2 is I want those questions to be answered. That's all I want. I want to know what is the beef between Q and Guinan. I want to know what was Q talking about the entire time they were having that conversation. Because Q was childish in the beginning. We'll admit that, okay. But later on, he matures. He even has a son,
Right.
and made Janeway the godmother, and possibly Jean Luc the Godfather. So, with all that being said, and in terms of him aging, he probably not because he played as one of those judges in that crazy ass whatever future in Encounter at 4 and all good things, but during the Voyager episodes, there were some Q episodes there too, where other Q were judging other Q. So did millions of years pass in his timeline where he elevated to become that kind of judge? Ah, because you got to remember, time works very differently in the continuum than it does in our universe. And also, we have to take into account, if Randall is correct and that there's something going on with the Q continuum, that means his assumption that he made to Riker in season 2 or 1 of TNG is correct. Humanity is moving on to a point where the Q is like, hold on now, what are you guys trying to do?
Right.
I don't care how they tell the story. I just want my questions answered. That's all.
Man, that's the biggest disappointment. That's the biggest disappointment when you get that you see so many things like that in the air that you can just pluck out for yourself, and you're putting it together for yourself. And then when you watch a show, it doesn't quite always work out that way. But so long as they tell a good story, as long as the characters are developed, I really do enjoy them nonetheless.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Jermaine?
So what I was going to say is, like, number one, those were like 50 questions. I need you to understand that those were 50 questions, and I like you want me to answer? No, that's not going to happen.
I didn't know. I was just making 50 statements. I didn't know those were questions.
Like, okay. No, okay. So what I was going to comment on, and I decided not to comment on, but since you brought it up, when it comes to character development, this is what. So I've gone back and I've watched like all of the shows. Right, I looked at their first season, and I thought that their first seasons were all very stale, and they are. That's the nature of the beast. But I have to differ. Like, I think that because it's season 1 and we're getting used to the storyline, we're getting used to the characters, it's going to take a while for them to number one, for the actors to mature into the character, and then also for the writing to kind of catch up with what the actor is able to do. And so all of that is going to happen, but the only thing that I'm going to say there is that I think that many of these actors are really, really good actors. For instance, the guy who's the captain, can't think of his name, but he was able to, in one scene, play 6 different characters. You know what I'm saying? And they were funny, and they were vibing off of each other. They had different personalities. And I, look, Girardi. Like, she is a neurotic in everything that she ever plays, but she was heartfelt, right? You felt her, like you felt sorry that she killed somebody. Like, when do we feel that in on Star Trek? You know what I'm saying?
We don't.
Huh?
We don't.
No.
So, like, there's a lot of character development. We just don't see it because I think we want to see Picard. We want to see Picard. We want to see Picard. But it's happening. We just have to remember that it's happening.
It's definitely a season 1 thing where we have to like give it a chance. My favorite character personally from season 1, two characters from season 1 is Raffi and Elnor, because I somewhat, and I say that lightly, somewhat agree with Randall's point as far as character development goes. Those 2 characters were the only ones that I feel like had a stitch of development compared to the rest of the staff, the rest of the cast. So, because I knew about the doc, I knew about the captain, I knew about all of them, but there was actually flashbacks and backstory that came with Raffi and Elnor. The others didn't really have that. And
so
go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's the 21st century, and Game of Thrones hit the ground running in season 1. You could watch that season 1, you could watch that first episode, and you feel included and have an understanding of how it works. There's many TV shows that have hit the ground running from season 1. The Star Trek excuse that, well, they need 20 seasons before you start to get it. The modern storytelling doesn't require that. You don't need 15 episodes for you to get it. We already know who Picard is. Now, mind you, we don't know who he is 20 years in the past, but we have an idea of who he is. We know how he handles situations. We know that he sets himself in the middle and takes up the space and will hold it for the best of us, for the best possible conclusion of a situation. And I don't know who that person was who left that behind. He was not that person coming in. Now, he doesn't have to be the exact same person, because I get that people change, but he was a lesser version of what we've already known him to be. So he can be different, and he should be different. So that should have come in and hit the ground with a solid foundation, because you do have good actors, and they are all good actors. I feel the same way very strongly with Discovery. They're all good actors. But you came in with a backstory already. Picard came in with a backstory. Discovery came in with a backstory already. What I'm hoping is that one of these things come together and make a coherent sense out of the different disparate versions of Star Trek all leading into this. And somehow, I don't care if the style is Discovery style versus Voyager style. I just want it to make sense in its own in-universe sense. So if the reason that I have my theory that 2009 the destruction of the planets and whatnot caused some kind of problem that reverberated throughout the galaxy, and that's why things are so different now. And that's fine. I would like an answer like that to just retcon the hell out of everything else. The characters can stay the same, but it would give them a better context of who I'm talking to, or who I'm watching, and why I should care, rather than they hand you a bowl of something and you're like, well, what is this? I don't know. We'll tell you in 2 seasons when we figure it out.
So I still disagree. And let me explain why. So in Game of Thrones, so there was a whole book, right? There was a whole book
Right.
That really just did an excellent job. So the writers built those characters. But even in the television show, there were aspects of those characters that we didn't see displayed on television until some of the last seasons, right? So you didn't see it, but if you read the books, you knew that it was there, so you understood what was happening. And all I'm saying is, you have within this world, you have a lot. You really do have a lot going on. They're also trying to hold true to Star Trek canon, right? And also move a story forward, right? So in one sense, they're shackled. In another sense, they want to do something, right, that's new and different. And then you still have these characters that they want to develop. And I still assert that they did a really good job of developing those characters. I really do. I really believe that, right? They just don't have there's no other way that they can develop those characters except for what you see in that moment. And you really have to pay attention. Sometimes those characters, it's about the look that they give, or the statement that they don't make, right? So you have to pay attention to that. And often what we're doing is we're not paying attention to that. We're looking at other things, and what we're not hearing is just as important as what we do hear.
I would agree. It feels like, and they have admitted this. This is a whole nother story. I don't want to go off on that because it's okay. But they didn't have plans for some of this stuff going in. They were like, after they had got done with the season, like, oh, it could have gone this direction. Oh, well, we'll do it better next season. You talk about Game of Thrones did have a Bible to work with, but Star Trek has a Bible too. It's the past 60 years worth of this, that, and the other, comic books and
but you just said
TV
you wanted to see them do something different. You just said that.
No, and that's okay. But that's what you build on.
you got to choose. What do you want? Like, what do you? And what I'm saying is, there's some give and take that they've got to do, right? And you just got to let just let it unfold.
Yeah, it feels substanceless, and like I said, they can build on. I want something different. I want to see characters evolve and change, become different people. And they might become people I don't like, and that's okay.
Well,
as long as they become. So it doesn't matter whether you like them or not. You just want them to develop.
I want them to feel like they felt like in their own way to real people, in their own way within the universe, and it feels like I said. There's a lot in Picard already coming forth. Look, if Nimoy can do it on his own over the entirety of his career and make it feel like it's one long story. And that's just one guy. Now, I will guarantee you he had somebody writing stuff down, and he had somebody, helping him keep track of these things. Mm-hmm. They all do too. Okay, I'm going to give you this last example, and then I hope to be quiet.
I hope.
Have you seen the TV show? It was on HBO called Extras with Ricky Gervais.
No.
Okay. So Patrick Stewart has a role in it, and Ricky Gervais is trying to be an actor, but all he is an extra. But he's a pain in the neck, and he'll show up and try and kind of get up to the stars, to get to know them, to help his career. So he sneaks into Patrick Stewart's trailer. Oh. Patrick Stewart's very cool about it.
It's a fourth wall
he's
show.
Like, I'm sorry, what?
It's a fourth wall show where they break the fourth wall, kind of.
Yeah. And so Patrick Stewart starts throwing out his ideas of all these things he wants to do. And you see the look on Ricky Gervais's face where he's like, this guy isn't as talented as I thought, because he's just coming up with some crazy ideas like Professor Xavier is going to, use his mind powers and make girls strip their clothes off, and he's going like, are you serious about this? And it gets funnier and funnier because he starts saying sillier and sillier things. And I feel like Patrick Stewart went in and said, I want to do my version of Picard. This is that Unforgiven for Picard, and I don't think the character can quite do that. It's a different kind of thing. If that's what they were trying to do. But to be honest with you, I couldn't tell what they were trying to do. So you can find that clip on YouTube. It is pretty funny to watch Patrick Stewart say some crazy things like that.
I got nothing.
I'm listening. I heard.
I'm sorry.
I was thinking when you were speaking about. No, don't apologize. Don't ever apologize. No, don't do that. What I was thinking was, if Spock is your favorite character, because typically when we have our favorite characters, it means that they have aspects and personality that we resonate with. Like for me, mine is Deanna Troi. She's the empath on the show, and she shows a lot of emotion, and I'm so glad that they developed her from the cheerleader they tried to make her be to beautiful inside and out character. So but that's over 7 seasons and 4 or 5 movies. But I suppose it's perspective. Maybe I'm young, maybe I don't know, but I learned that, all right, this is a William opinion, and Jermaine, this is the last time I will bring this up, I promise. This is why I remain optimistic about every season 1 of Trek I will ever see from now on. People hated Star Trek Enterprise to the core. To the core. Everything about it, from season 1 to 4. I must have came from a Mandela universe, because I could have sworn we went all the way to 5. I was wrong. So, but here's the thing: when Discovery came out, and this was long after at least two Abrams films came out, all of a sudden there was an appreciation for Enterprise. Where the fuck were you guys?
Really? Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And I hate that. I cannot stand that. I feel that's hypocritical. And as a filmmaker myself, I can go toe to toe, head to head, butt to butt, and debate why that is the most hypocritical thing Trekkies have ever done in the history in the 52 years of Trek. Literally the most hypocritical thing. Don't you dare trash another show 20 years later, worship the ground that it walks on, and wish it kept going. I don't know what they were doing. That sounds like gospelers from a small southern town. Don't do that. I don't know what they were doing. I had no idea what was going. No. You were the one that turned the channel on that TV. You were the one that sent that hate letter. You were the one that said that foul post on social media. You were the one that pressed the dislike on that post. That was you. And so now when I watch it, and to be honest, I said it back then when I was a teenager watching Enterprise, and I still say it now. I love the show then, and I love it now. Nothing has changed. I'm one of the few that actually likes the last episode of Enterprise. I do. I've liked it when I watched it, and I still like it now. My opinion has not changed. I agree with Jonathan Frakes' statements about how it, in a way, butchered the show. But that's what happens. What happens when you have a sudden ending episode. When the next episode we were supposed to go into the Romulan and Federation war.
They were?
Yes.
That is what I've always wanted to. I have always wanted information on that. That, like, forget everything else. That's what I always wanted to know.
They were about to go into the Federation Romulan War. That's what that's what it was going to be. It was like their third year in the Federation or some crap. Actually, no, they weren't in the Federation at that point. The point is, season 5 was the Romulan War, and then after that, they were going to go into the Klingons. Then they were going to go into the sudden return of the Borg. Then they were going to do a bunch of stuff with Khan and a bunch of stuff and not Khan, but like other augments. And notice that they squeezed all of those things you remember in the last 5 episodes. Each episode was basically the remaining seasons that would have come to pass. That's the truth. But people think that they just rushed it, and of course they rushed it because people canceled it. They invented cancel culture. Was started off as throwing Rotten Tomatoes, and then ended up talking shit about Enterprise, and now it's getting on TikTok and destroying celebrities. So I can go all day about this. So I will admit.
Yeah. No.
One more thing. I will admit. I am not a full fan of the Abrams films, except for Into Darkness. But again, that's also a rare opinion. I was not a full fan of season 1 of Discovery. I hated its guts, but I watched it unbiasedly, and I knew that going forward they were going to have to go into a different direction, even though they were existing on a streaming platform now, which they put us through hell on which platform they were going to make us watch it on.
True.
They knew that because they were on a streaming platform, it meant that they were under more constraints. It meant that the people actually had more control than networks do. Networks can keep a show going even if the audience hates it. But if it's on a streaming platform and you find that more than half of your audience canceled their subscription halfway through the season, baby, your show is done. So so I share opinions from both parties in this show today, in this episode today.
Yeah, and I am, please understand, I'm willing to be 1,000% wrong, and that other people should love what they love, and that's all it comes down to.
I like to debate. I like to debate.
That's what I'm saying. Yes, sir. I really think a good place for you is definitely opposite tracks and what if. Okay. What if you can talk about anything you freaking want to talk about? In opposite tracks, that's nothing but debate, man.
So Randall, I will tell you, there are times when I debate an issue that I don't believe in, just because.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you hear someone's logic, and you're like, I mean, I don't even agree with you, but that doesn't make any. I can't stand an argument that feels doesn't have substance either. So yeah, I get you. I get that.
Do you operate by logic mostly? because Spock is your favorite character. You seem like a
I
very
think,
logical
well, I like to think I do, but you know how that is. In reality, it's a whole nother story.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
make sure you bring your booze next time, okay?
And look, right? And theological fly like crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You will see Jermaine with his red wine, and you will see with my water. I'm a lightweight, so I don't actually drink that much. You'll see that I have a very strong personality, and when you see last week's episode where I lost it, quite literally, I think I fell on the bed like 5 times. I was like. But anyway, okay, guys, this has got to be the longest running. Oh, God.
Sorry.
You're like, no, seriously. The last time we ran a long episode was like November, and we went for 3 hours. So, but
Oh my God.
You don't remember that, Jermaine? Look at his face.
I was on there.
Yeah, you were there. You were there. It wasn't an official episode yet. We were just all there talking.
Okay, yeah. Okay. It wasn't a show. It wasn't a show. We were just talking.
To 1 a.m. I don't know, but we did it. So today has been a very cool, very openly understanding episode of Black Truck under the Trucker Starlight umbrella. This week we have actually a lot of shows, but I'm going to name all of them. We have the LGBT Trek, we have the FTP, which is Fight the Patriarchy, we have What If, we have Section 31, which is led by our buddy here, Jermaine. So if you want to know more about Section 31 or explore the realms of Section 31, more than welcome. On Thursdays, we do show reviews. We just introduced Opposite Treks, which is ran by Manhill Eunice. And we have What If. Jermaine, am I missing anything? I believe you have a new show that you want to bring out called Comrades. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That is correct. But we're just in the
pre-production stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So each show is designed for different personalities and different opinions, but we are all open to have different opinions and different debates. Like I said, I'm one of the few that actually likes These Other Voyages. I don't care what anyone says. Sorry. So, and I'm usually the only one, so that's fine. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to our channel and our Facebook as well, because we are so happy that you guys are actually watching it and liking it. It seems to be. So maybe, who knows? Maybe we can get together, and when COVID is down enough, and we can host something in Las Vegas and bring out the track actors and stuff, and then watch Rando go at it with Rappy's actress, so that way they can debate it, and I will have popcorn because that should be fun. So, all right, guys, have a good one. Peace. I just want to talk to her. No, I just want to talk to her. Like I heard, what I think Robin said. I think she wanted to pull her hands back.
She wanted to do a bitch.
No, she wanted to.
Bitch.
So if you can't tell, they have thoughts about Discovery.
Look, here's the thing. Cancel culture might get everyone else, but they won't come for me in this subject. If you are our allies, we are not talking to you. We are not talking to you. This does not. Okay, we're not talking to you. Stop trying to take our shit and make it your goddamn business. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It ain't got nothing to do with you. Did I say that? No. I said Atlas and Cardassian. If you are neither in that category, go to another show.